Good morning, beautiful souls. Happy Saturday. I nearly said happy Friday, but it is indeed Saturday morning. I've been away for a short family break, only from Monday to Friday, but yesterday morning I was coming back from South Devon with lots to do. And as it turns out, today is a much better day to be looking at the energies because it is a new moon. New moon in Taurus, I believe. If it's not, then I'm sure some of the moonier of you will correct me. And we've also got a partial solar eclipse, and we've got Beltane tomorrow. So this weekend is a reset. Okay, it's a resetting of the energies at a higher frequency. Now this is happening a lot at the moment. This is occurring on a very regular basis. We kind of reach a collective, like a collective platform of light where all of us who are kind of anchoring, we're holding the light as high as possible. And Mother Earth is kind of also holding her template as high as possible. And then it's time to switch up even more. And I tend to notice this occurring almost a little bit like, and you may have heard me explain this analogy before, how an electrician would rewire a house. So they'd come in, they'd turn the fuse board off, they'd do their rewiry thing, and then they'd switch the light, then they'd switch the current back on again, and everything is much brighter, more stable. Everything's earthed, you know. You're not going to get zapped if you touch the wrong light switch, or there's no bare wiring. Everything has been done at a much higher frequency, and that I can feel and sense and see is one of the occurrences of this weekend. So we've got the new moon today, we've got the partial solar eclipse, so it's the beginning of eclipse season, and we've got Beltane, the 1st of May Day tomorrow, which is always a very well celebrated day. It's a pagan festival, and it celebrates the halfway point between the equinox and the summer solstice in the northern hemisphere. So Beltane is a beautiful time in the UK, and my friend the tree here, it's an English beech tree. It's come into leaf this week. So whereas I've been sitting under this tree for months, everything's been bare around me. Today I'm out here and all of the green is coming out. It really is exquisite. So in relation to this, it's almost a little bit when the energies kind of reset. And if you tune into it, if you tune into that kind of that silence that you have going on around you, if the voices stop, you can just tell very clearly that everything just gets switched off for a moment, switched back on again, and the light is very much higher and brighter. And this happened to me. Okay, now you might have heard me explain my experiences with a part of our spiritual initiations that I call going dark. Okay, it's one of my favorites. And it's one of my favourites because it actually tripped me up, or it challenged me more so than anything else on the Ascension pathway. Now, when we have established our spiritual persona, you know, we wake up or we kind of begin to acknowledge the sensitivities and the powers that we have over the course of our lifetimes as a third dimensional human. When we first manage to reconnect to the higher realms, or we realise that the guides are speaking to us, or that we've been communicating with a dragon or a unicorn, it is one of the most euphoric experiences that we can have. It is the most incredible rush of spiritual endorphins, and for a period of time we're riding this incredible wave, and we want more. We want more information, more light, more knowledge, and we go into kind of almost like a seeking hyperdrive, where it's almost like no matter how hard you push, it's never enough. And eventually, as with everything, it plateaus. And from that plateau, you then go through a set of tests and initiations where you begin to get tested upon your discernment, your ability to hold light under pressure, the ability to love yourself, okay, that's one of the biggest ones, always is, and the ability to speak your truth, and also the abilities, most importantly, the ability to trust the universe. Not just trust the universe, trust yourself. So as within, so without. Now, my first experience with going dark, as I call it, occurred in 2014, I think it was, when I was writing the first book, The Archangel Guide to Ascension, with Diana Cooper. It's Archangel Guide to Ascension, 55 Steps to the Light, and it's the first book that I co-authored with my good friend Diana Cooper. So we were writing it in 2014, and I used to go round her house, and we used to get as many chapters as we could done in the period of time. So like we'd brainstorm the energies, and we'd have all of this information coming in, or we'd already know what we're going to be talking about, and we'd put this into wording that was possibly just a far more updated version of information that was already out there, because our entire project with that book was to write something in the new energies from 2012 onwards, because everything changed on the 21st of December 2012. Anything that was written prior to that date held the third dimensional template energies, so we needed to be writing or aligning with the new information coming in. And for the first half of the book, I was like a kid in a sweet shop. All of this beautiful information was flowing and flooding in, and it was, you know, I had ideas for this and knowledge for that. And then all of a sudden, one morning, I woke up and I was due to go over to Diana's, and we were going to get a bulk of the work done. It was going to be a busy day, so we're going to try and write about 3 or 4 chapters. And I suddenly noticed there was something different about my perception. It's almost like all of the information and all of that constant tap on download flow that I'd been privy to for the majority of my spiritual life had stopped, and it was radio silence. And I was like, right, okay, test the barriers, test the energy a little bit, what's going on. And I could immediately see all of my guides stood back, watching me from like kind of the corners of their space. I was like, all right, I know what's happening. And I was receiving nothing. So how could I possibly turn up to Diaz and said, look, I've completely shut down. There's nothing coming through. And I realised at that point that this was something which had occurred to me, that I was going to have to start routing the information through my own sources. And I was given a little hint. I said it was going to have to come through my heart. In fact, I believe we were working on the 5th dimensional heart center together, so it would have been very, very appropriate. And in a relatively short period of time, I managed to kind of overcome my initial panic from that situation and start bringing the information through myself. But it was completely different, and initially it was very, very difficult to do so. It's a little bit like starting a car engine that hadn't been started for a very, very long time. Initially it kind of cranked over, and then you could kind of hear the engine warming up, and then then the oils and the fluids started flowing around. But as soon as it ignited, that flow became predominant. And from that point onwards, I never received information the old way again. So it's a little bit like on the initial phase of our ascension process, we're so well guided, we're so well supported. We're kind of, even for the want of a better word, a little bit mollycoddled by our teams and our guides and those around us, because they're just so happy that we have stepped up and reconnected on a spiritual level. And it will last a period of time before they suddenly go, right, you are ready to take off the training wheels and start bringing through your own stuff, your own light, your own master information, your knowledge. and sewn within all of your updated chakra system, your physical, mental, emotional, spiritual fields, all of the light codes, all of the knowledge, all of the information that you have brought down that's absolutely, completely unique to you, will begin to light up. So that process of going dark, it serves two purposes. It first of all serves the purpose of giving your team or your higher self the opportunity to rewire you at a higher frequency, and it also gives the opportunity for you to start to activate within a sensible time limit the new updated keys and codes that are coming available to you within your bodies and fields. Or you might have even received information from the higher realms or your higher self that's coming down through you to be analysed and translated by your heart, your third eye, your crown, and all of the other chakras that are working with you, so that you can understand it at a much higher level. So this happened to me this week. Okay, so I got down on holiday on Monday and just switched off, and I kind of got like the message from my support team, the guides and those that I kind of work with on a daily, minute-to-minute basis. They were just saying, be normal for a bit. And I always laugh when they say that, because it's, once you're on this ascension pathway, and a lot of you will be able to relate to this, we're being driven very hard at the moment. But that drive is 50% our soul urgency, and 50% the urgency of what we sense, see and feel from Mother Earth and those that are the billions of souls that are coming to Earth at the moment, who have a higher purpose or agenda to set this ascension process completely in the correct direction, with no deviations, no flaws, no hiccups, no anything. So it's very difficult, or I personally find it very difficult, to switch off and be normal, even for a very short period of time, because apart from anything else, define normal nowadays. We are so privy to all of these spiritual and sensory overloads in our current state on this pathway, that we're constantly, I find, in a little bit of overdrive. And so taking 2 or 3 days, just cutting back and not thinking about what's going to happen next, where the Earth is going, was actually really refreshing. And it's an indication to me that I've kind of managed to relax and put enough trust and faith in my own abilities on this planet, that 2 or 3 days off doesn't mean that I'm never going to get switched back on again, and the ascension process isn't going to collapse if things aren't, if I'm not completely keyed into it all the time. So, but initially when this happens, and if you are listening to this and you have experienced recently the whole going dark thing, honour it. Okay, it's one of the irregular occurrences that will happen to you on the ascension pathway, and every time it happens, it's a good thing. It is a good thing, because no matter how long it takes, it might take a couple of days, might take a couple of weeks, might, even if it's a big upgrade, and you could even be involved with a physical illness which is removing all of the stuff from your bodies and fields, it might even take a couple of months. So, as well as the kind of the planetary switch off, switch on, resetting that I can sense and feel occurring this weekend, if I'm experiencing that kind of light upgrade, the going dark, switch back on, increase in light, then it's very possible that some of you beautiful souls that are listening to this morning may have also experienced it yourself. And it's just part of the fun of the initiations, the rocket ride, the roller coaster that we experience at this point of our ascension pathway. I've said this before on a few occasions, we're never going to be at a more beautiful but more intense and messy part of our transition from 3D to 5D. And I believe that May is going to be something that we need to be very disciplined about, because there are things beginning to show up in the 3D field that have the ability to really throw us off track. Things that people are really worried about. And of course that involves conflict, food supply, control from the 3D matrix that we don't believe that we have any power over. We have power over absolutely everything within our existence. What we are rescinding power for, or rescinding our agreements for, is having control over us. So as we step back, as we say, no, I'm no longer going to be lorded over in that way, it comes with threats of, well, if you don't, then you're not going to have access to this, or you're not going to have access to that. We will, okay? Everything will continue to support us, because the universe is completely backing this shift from 3D to 5D. We're simply stepping out of a control matrix. But in the process of doing so, and this is what I think I was talking about this quite extensively in the last video that I did, is the opposing versions of the Great Reset. Our Great Reset, which is obviously the great. Come on, let's be honest about this. Our Great Reset is the Great Reset. It's backed by the cosmos. It's backed by every high frequency soul in the universe, be they physical or non-physical. It's been written and completely scripted by the Intergalactic Council in accordance and harmony with Archangel Metatron. And then we got organisations like the WEF saying, oh well, this is our Great Reset. This is how we're going. The two, it's a little bit like our moon trying to attack kind of Jupiter, which is a vast gas planet, or Saturn, and have any effect on it in any way, shape or form. Or standing at the shores of the sea on a windy, rainy, kind of stormy day and shouting at the sea to calm down. Okay, these are the kind of the comparisons that I feel. And yet everybody's so worried about what they're doing. Everybody is so worried about these incredibly wealthy souls on this planet who are attempting to exert control over every aspect of humanity, even to the point where humanity is no longer human in the form that we know. So these two versions of the Great Reset, I'm finding it so fascinating at the moment. But for me, we're going to have to be diligent. We're going to have to be extremely disciplined about the information that we're taking in, how we're responding to it, and and it's really going to ask us whether we trust the universe, whether we trust ourselves, and whether we are keyed into our flow of abundance effectively, or whether we believe that we are going to have everything taken away from us, that we have nothing. Okay, there's two very clear, very defined forms of thought that are working at the moment. And of course, if you look at it from a higher perspective, it is simply showing us our shadows, the deep and hidden pool of fears that we all have within us, that have been created by experiences that we've had along our pathway back in the days of the third dimension, the fall of Atlantis, the other occurrences that have happened over the last 10,000 years, some of which we have no recollection or memory of, and they're buried in our Akashic, but the effects are controlling how we respond to things, simply because it's seeded within our DNA that when we are subject to change, we are subject to disaster. That is one of the things I believe that is so important for us to be moving away from now, is to look what we're creating with joyful expectancy, rather than waiting for the next move, or waiting for the hammer of doom to descend. So yeah, that's my perspective. May is going to be intense, it's going to be powerful as ever. Do we have a month on this planet, especially in 2022, that isn't intense and powerful? But I feel now that the tide of the energy has now turned and it is behind us, it's pushing us. It's like riding a bike with a tailwind. If any of you have ever ridden a push bike for any length of time, you know that riding into the wind is not fun. Okay, riding into the wind is hard work, and it's the same. If you asked a salmon, do you enjoy swimming up that stream every spring, they'll probably say no, I don't like that one little bit. So it's now, I feel the energy has turned round, and we have now got the most incredible tailwind. We've got the current, we've got the river pushing us, but it's very important that we are keyed into the essentials of how to process what we're being given, to use the energy effectively, to actually trust, start putting some trust in the universe, this ascension process, and not believe that we're continuously going to be victims. And that, and I notice the comparisons, that kind of that panic, that kind of that oh my god, I'm going to be taken out. I've been shut down, begins when we go through that process of going dark. Okay, because for me personally, it brought up every single fear that I could possibly have. In 2014, when I first experienced it, thought, what have I done wrong? How have I been such a bad light worker? Why are my guides standing back? Why am I not getting any information? And somebody goes, take it through your heart, like that. I was like, all right, cheers. And then all of a sudden, the information and the light and the knowledge started coming back through again. So trust. It's all about trust at the moment. Trust and flow with that river of consciousness, higher knowledge, bright, shiny information that's coming through, and just be very, very vigilant about what we are creating. Okay, so have the most beautiful weekend. I hope the energies of this new moon are enabling each and every one of you to reset at a much higher frequency. And of course, I will be back on Monday with Meditation Monday. Sending you all so much love. Speak to you soon.